Okay, here we go. Hi, I'm Mark Hummel. This is Jeff Varjan, and we are doing Mark Hummel's Harmonica Party, a reaction video. And we would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and comment on these videos. If you want to preserve the blues and the history of the blues, please consider joining us on Patreon. We can use your subscriptions, and I think you will enjoy what it is we're doing with these interviews that we're presenting to you.
Today we got Barbara Dane. And I know Barbara Dane's an old friend of yours. We did a 4-part interview with the great Barbara Dane, who's 95.
She's 96.
96, has a new book coming out. This is 2022, so a new book is coming out. There's a documentary coming out.
The book's already out. The book's called This Bell Still Rings.
Okay. If you haven't heard of Barbara Dane, then we're here to introduce you to her. She's quite a groundbreaking performer, entertainer,
social activist.
The influence she's had reached out to Janis Joplin, Bob Dylan, Joan Baez,
Tracy Nelson,
Bonnie Raitt.
Right.
I mean, if you are performing,
Linda
Ronstadt. If you've performed in the last 50 years in the blues, rock, folk world, jazz, then Barbara Dane is your cup of tea and probably influenced you. Let's just get into it.
Quit me, don't know what to do. Yeah, there ain't nobody got the blues like me. And if you can't help me, why don't you let me be? Ain't got a thing to call my own. I always get the short wishbone. Oh, there ain't nobody got the blues like me. And if you can't help me, why don't you let me be? I'm gonna leave town, going to that high bridge to jump and drown. Yeah, there ain't nobody got the blues like me. And if you can't make me better, why don't you let me be?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I saw that, and you found that somehow, and put it in the podcast that we did with Barbara, and that just floors me. I get chills listening to that.
1958.
Yeah.
It strikes me just seeing her, and we just did a reaction of Janis Joplin,
right?
But neither one of them moved around the stage a lot. But in 1958, the technology wasn't so you couldn't just grab the mic and run around.
Right.
She was sort of locked down. But even being locked down, she's in it.
She's totally in it.
She's totally in it.
And you know, the interesting thing when you watch the interview with her, she talks about how she learned this style called bel canto, which is a style of singing where you literally sing from your stomach, you sing from your feet, and it's like a really loud volume that she's able to get. And her style is so on the heels of somebody like Bessie Smith or Ma Rainey, these powerful blues singers that she idolized that could really get sound out of their
big voice.
They got big voices
To get over a big band.
over
at the
a
time.
big band,
Right.
and so she was playing with these trad jazz bands. But man, I mean, she has a story about the first album that they show at the very beginning of this, where when she recorded the album, she says that she was having marital troubles with her first husband, and she said she went in with these, and she was recording with some old, you know, Dixieland, like traditional jazz guys like Pops Foster and some people like that. And she said they were so comfortable working with her that they just let her do her thing. And she said she was totally in it, of her, where she was with the songs, the materials she was doing, the blues, and just her, where she was at. And man, it translates so heavily to me.
Yeah, her career was so diverse. Aside from being one of the premier activists of the time,
Right.
singing folk music through
Right.
a time of unionization and being close friends with Pete Seeger and that
Right.
whole world, and Bob Dylan coming along and that whole folk
Right.
thing, and then move into jazz and then moving to blues and
Yeah.
even
Well,
acting.
jazz and blues for her were two. That was one thing.
Yeah.
She was really a traditional jazz singer in the sense of the New Orleans style singers, you know, and the Southern blues singers. She was the classic blues type vocalist, and she told me when she did that one record that she was really a total, you know, traditionalist in her, where she was coming from. Now later on she changed that, and she kind of grew into a much more of almost really a world music singer, because she really adopted all kinds of different things. But in that period, in the late 50s and early 60s, she was really locked into this traditional blues.
Well, and she had a worldwide appeal. I know even just recently, within the last month,
Yeah.
the country of Cuba gave her their highest
right.
award.
Yeah.
She's very, very popular in,
Yeah.
and her son has
Yeah,
a very
Pablo,
popular.
yeah.
Pablo has a very popular band in Cuba, and you know, it's if she also appeared on television. I watched, if you've got
Yeah.
television, Roku, whatever you got, and you can
Right.
search her. She appeared on an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Right. She was on that. She was on Johnny Carson. She was on Hugh Hefner's.
Yeah, she was on the Hugh Hefner thing on the.
She was on
the
the Stars of Jazz, Timex All Stars special, which we were going to watch, which has like Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong was crazy about her.
Well, I was going to say that even
All the jazz guys and the
even
blues guys were just nuts about her.
Alfred Hitchcock was crazy about her.
Right.
Because in this episode, she plays a singer in a club.
Right.
And usually,
James
if you watch
Mason,
television,
I think.
James Mason, if you watch television and they have a singer in a club in the background of the
They don't feature
scene, they're just in the background.
Right.
You might hear a clip. They cut to Barbara.
Right.
The entire scene is a solo of her singing the entire song in a 1-hour television show.
Yeah.
They take up 3.5 minutes of story and
Yeah.
give it to her, which is
Right.
phenomenal at the time.
Yeah. Well, she was definitely, you know, at the time of her popularity, and her politics is definitely kind of what took her down in terms of the popular angle of her music, because she was a communist and you know, not a flag waving, you know, American. You know, she was right in the middle of the blacklisting time, and
Right,
that's
right.
what basically took her down. I mean, somebody like Albert Grossman or Louis Armstrong's manager basically said, you know, if you're going to be in politics, we don't want to have anything to do with you. And that's one reason that I revere her so much, is that she's such a person of principle, and she's somebody that really related to the people, the have-nots. And that's what I love about Barbara so much. And that's what I'm reading her book right now, and it's like she's really a great writer. And it comes through from the very beginning that she really was somebody that was passionate about speaking for the people that didn't have voice.
Well, and it comes across when you meet her today.
Yeah.
I met her when we did the interview, and the conversations we had are, I mean, at 96, she's as sharp as a tack and
very sharp,
can articulate and debate with anybody.
Yeah,
but
right.
It's interesting because she talks a lot about the politics in her FBI file being so thick that they really the government stopped her from touring with Louis Armstrong. Again, I'm going to tell you,
on a lot of stuff.
I'm not going to tell the story, but she has a great story about Count Basie helping her out in her very specific
and
time.
Ella, she told me when I saw her the other night, and she told me about Ella Fitzgerald coming by one of her gigs, and she gave her an album, and Ella wrote a letter to her and said, you know, you have a bright career in front of you. Well, now that kind of stuff does not happen
she's
very often with
one
icons.
of those people that I think everybody in the arts aspires to. Fame to the public is something that some people want, but fame within your own industry amongst your peers is something that is very, very important.
That's a very rare
and
thing.
She has it all.
Yeah, she was, I mean, even in the last few years, I mean, she performed right up until about 4 years ago. And Barbara's somebody that when she is doing her thing and she's in it, she's untouchable. She is truly untouchable. And, you know, there's bands that are coming along nowadays like Tuba Skinny and LaVey Smith is a big fan of Barbara's. You know, there's a number of people that are coming along that are kind of getting back into this style of music like we just heard. And, you know, I sent her something on one of these groups and she listened to it and I thought she would flip out and she didn't. She kind of went, I don't know. She doesn't really, you know, it's like, and I went, wow, you know, and then I listened to this and I go, no wonder.
Yeah.
You know, when you have that kind of talent and you've been there and you've worked with these kind of iconic legends that she's worked with, you don't have you have a very high bar about what impresses you.
Yeah.
So, you know, all I can say is people got to get hip to her because she's somebody that's really a rarity.
I remember one thing she said to me that she thinks she might be the only woman who made
Ebony magazine.
Being in Ebony magazine, being on the cover,
a white woman in Ebony magazine,
feature. But she's one of the only women. She says the only woman that ever made Hugh Hefner get on his knees because he had to beg her to come on the show. She didn't want to go on the show.
That's funny.
Terrific.
Yeah, she was somebody that really did not. She did not let famous people or money sway her at all.
No,
she was completely her own person.
I don't give a fuck.
And I love that. I love artists like that. I have a real affinity for people that don't give a fuck.
I think you like me, and that's kind of I have that kind of effect on people.
Well, I love that.
I love that. I brush them all the wrong way. So once again, like, comment, and subscribe, and see you next time. Look on the description down below. Find out where you can find our interview with Barbara Dane. It's terrific. You will not be disappointed. We'll see you next time.
Boogie.